Ready, Nikki. Here we go. Got it. Everybody click got it. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order. And I'm going to read the statement for remotely conducted open meetings because that's required, so bear with me. We're using Zoom webinar for this meeting, which allows for the public to participate in the meeting as an attendee. Attendees must register to participate. The registration link is unique to the meeting, and it can be found in the description of the Nantucket Government TV YouTube live feed for the meeting, just to make things complicated. People registering to be an attendee must use their names, otherwise they can't participate in the discussion. Attendees will join in a listening mode, and they can click a raise hand button if they wish to speak. I will call on those who have raised their hands in the order they were raised as best as I can. And all questions should be directed through me, the chair. As a preliminary matter, this is Bruce Mandel. I'm the meeting manager. And let me confirm that members and persons are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Michael Maynard.
Yes.
Lars Soderberg.
Yes.
Thank you. Leslie Forbes.
Yes.
And Tom Erickson.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Staff, when I call your name, respond in the affirmative if you're still here. Nikki Sheriff.
Yes.
Good to see you. Thank you very much. I don't see any anticipated speakers on the agenda. Good afternoon. This open meeting of the Madaket Area Plan Work Group is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. Ensuring public access does not ensure the public participation unless that participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment as noted. For this meeting, the Madaket Area Plan Work Group is convening by video conference via Zoom webinar as hosted by the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note the meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and to take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast might be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided to members of the Madaket Area Plan Work Group are available on the town's website. Public's encouraged to follow along. We're now going to turn to the first item on the agenda, but before we do, let me cover some ground rules. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide comment, questions, motions. Please hold your name until your name is called. Remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps to generate accurate minutes. Please wait for me to yield the floor to you. If you want to engage in conversation with other members, do it through the chair. And for public comment, I don't see any, so I'll skip that paragraph. And each vote taken in this meeting shall be conducted by roll call. Thank you, everyone. The next item on the agenda are public comments for items not on the agenda. Please note that David Madigan has joined us, and we now have 6 members, which I will consider a quorum. Hi, David. Next item is.
Hello.
Thank you. The next item is the approval of the minutes of the February 9th meeting, which we were going to do last month, but the meeting didn't occur because of some technical difficulties. I sent you all a copy of the minutes of the February 9th, 2024 meeting. And at this time, I'm going to ask if any of the members have any questions or comments or corrections that they would like to make note of. Tom Erickson has raised his hand. Go ahead, Tom.
There are no updates from Smith's Point, but one thing that everyone is a little aware of is the fact that they changed the terminology or budget, to look into both, Millie's and Massasoit Bridge. Have you heard any updates on that?
Yes, I have, but right now I'm just trying to review the minutes, and I don't remember us discussing that at our February meeting.
Oh, I thought you did make a quick note on that, but I guess you didn't, so I just wanted to make sure.
Well, let me look down the minutes in my notes. No, I'm sorry, Tom, if you have some notes that you'd like to put into the minutes, we'll do it.
Well, I just wanted to make that comment. But I can also update it if I think of something I'd like everyone else to know that no one does.
Okay, well, I'd like to discuss that. We'll get into that in the new business of this meeting. Thank you. I would like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the February 9th, 2024 workshop meeting so that we can submit them to be posted on the town website.
So moved.
Second.
Any second?
Second.
Lars, thank you. Are there any, let's just do it quickly. Anybody opposed to accepting the minutes, please raise your hand. I see no hands raised. Those minutes are now accepted. And Nikki will get those to you for posting. The next item is on the agenda, says review of Madaket area plan files. I had sent out a list, 7-page list of the files that I have accumulated over the years and offered them to any member, primarily to function as a way to craft each member's who volunteered to work on a chapter of the area plan to provide them information. And several of you have highlighted that list by highlighting the plans that you would like copies of in red and sending them back to me, highlight them whatever color you want. But those files have been sent out to those people who have requested them. And they are available, and I will send them as quickly as I can. What I've been doing is, rather than bombarding you, I have scanned the requested files into PDF documents and sent them to those who have requested them. So I just wanted to make sure of that. And if any of the folks on here have not received that list, please indicate by raising your hand if you have not received it. Okay, it looks like everyone has received that list of files. So we're good to go on that. Now, the next item I have on the agenda is who amongst the chapter volunteers is willing to act as a chapter coordinator? And by chapter coordinator, what I mean is, as the people who volunteered to work on a specific project, chapter rather, have information they would like to aggregate for consideration. The idea is for one person in each chapter group to function as kind of a funnel point to gather those. And let me just, we had two major documents, one in 2021, where Diana Brown had organized the outline for the 9 chapters with work group assignments. And I'll briefly go over them in case you don't remember. Chapter 1, goals and objective, was just me. Land use, the volunteers were to work on these now were Lars, Leslie, Michael, myself, and Emily. This primarily dealt with overlay districts and commercial districts and zoning. And I know, Leslie, you were very interested in that. I'll get into that in a minute. Chapter 3 is housing. And Bob and Charlie are not involved anymore, but Bruce, Leslie, and Lars volunteered for chapter 3. Chapter 4 was
Bruce, I did as well. You have me on your memo of January 8th. You have a list of
Okay,
people. I'm on that.
thank you. Chapter 4 was economic development. David, you were the volunteer for that one. Chapter 5 is natural and cultural resources. My list is long on this one. Michael, Lars, Peter, Emily, Kitty, Nathan, and Tom, you volunteered for that. And I have to let you know that Peter has been very interested in this and sent me back a very long list of the files he thought would be helpful to him. Chapter 6 was open space and recreation, was Ethan, Kitty, Emily, and me. And I don't remember if anybody else volunteered for that one.
Bruce, you have me on that as well.
Thank you, Michael, for reminding me. Chapter 7, services and facilities, was Peter, Michael, me, and David. And Emily kind of volunteered as it relates to septic and sewer. Again, Peter Heffenreffer requested a ton of files on that chapter, which I've sent to him. And this is important for, I'll make a comment in a second. Chapter 8 was circulation, transportation. I had Lars, Leslie, and Tom. And Tom, you were particularly interested in Smith's Point and Massasoit Bridge and the Ames Avenue Bridge. And then, of course, chapter 9 is implementation. And Leslie, I believe you indicated that you were interested in that. And there was Leslie, there was a meeting, I guess, October 17th, 2022, that got updated October 20th and November 2nd. And in that document, many people indicated what pieces of the puzzle and the various chapters they would like to work on drafts. If you don't have that, I will send it back out. Would anybody find that helpful?
Yes, please.
Okay, I will send this to everyone.
Bruce,
Yes.
you did you sent out something, Madaket area plan outline on 9 chapters, volunteer assignments, examples of key topics on January 8th. And that was a very helpful document. You went through each chapter, the volunteer members, and then you had bullets, lists of bullets. And that was, I think, a kind of a compilation, updated compilation as of that date of, you know, a number of earlier discussions. So I think that's, if you could find that, that's worth circulating.
I will do that. Thank you for reminding me about that. One of the things I'd like to find out today is if we go down these chapters of the area plan, for example, land use, Lars, Leslie, Michael, myself, and Emily volunteered for that. And because the key component in there is zoning, and I know Leslie, you were very interested in working on zoning. Would you be willing to work as kind of the coordinator for that chapter?
I'll give it a try.
Or would you like to think about it and let us know? Because I know you're very busy and traveling.
No, I'll give it a try. So this ties in, Bruce, to the minutes from the last meeting where I thought we made the decision of, from the minutes, it says, oh,
You're talking about the February minutes that we just approved?
yes, the February one. It was going to be you and Lars being in touch with various people, asking them to be the president of that chapter. And that person would be responsible for setting a monthly meeting, the Zoom link to use, and to set a date for the first organizational meeting. And at that meeting, the leader and the minutes taker will be selected and assignments made. Is that where we are right now that you're talking about?
Yes, it is, but I'm trying to expedite it a little bit because I have not been in communication with Lars in the last couple of weeks because I've been kind of inundated with scanning files for the people who requested them. So I thought if we put it on the agenda really quickly, instead of me contacting Lars and then him reaching out to you folks, we might be able to speed things up by going through them
Okay.
here.
Bruce, I'm happy to be the whatever of Chapter 8, Circulation Transportation.
Okay, thank you. Lars, do you want me to send you the list again and you want to contact these folks? Because I was looking at you kind of for the housing chapter. Michael, you volunteered for that too. Would you be willing to funnel that one, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, just sort of an editorial comment. The things I volunteered for all tie back in one form or another to land use. And zoning, like Leslie, I think is a critical element of that. So the reason I jumped on land use, housing, natural and cultural resources, and open space is really because they all come back to land use in one form or another. So I'm volunteered to be on each of those. I'll head up one of them if you like.
Well, I'm sure Leslie wouldn't mind, Michael, if you took that burden on the land use and funneled that because Leslie has been volunteering to do other things like the minutes.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I mean, I do think, and I don't want to digress right now, but just one of the early decisions we're going to have to make as a work group and then get it approved. I mean, this subcommittee, and then the work group is whether we want to engage counsel, who we've had a number of discussions with when we were doing the questionnaire. So that's a kind of a threshold discussion, but we'll work at that at the subcommittee level first and then bring it to this group for discussion.
Yeah, that's a good point, Michael. My sense on going to council is it's probably going to be needed, but not until we're deeper into the process.
No, I agree with you, but I think it's something that early on we should discuss and whether there's going to be willingness, because it will cost money. All of the time we got last time was given us for free, and I'm sure we'll get a few preliminary hours free as well, but that's going to cost money.
Yes, and while you brought that up, I did ask at the Madaket Conservation Association meeting whether the Madaket Area Plan Work Group might be eligible for a grant for something like engaging council to help put together the area plan. And as I recall, the comment was, you're free to make an application and let's see where it goes. And I think obviously it's something that benefits the Conservation Association and its members. David, are you still okay working on economic development? You know, things like
Sure.
Millie and Madaket Marine and
Sure.
Airbnb, VBRO, Great Casa issues?
Sure. Yep.
Good.
And Michael, I seem to recall that I think Joe Topham volunteered for that too.
For economic development?
Economic development. I thought he joined in on that.
Yeah, the reason I asked David was,
Oh, yeah, I see his name on your list, Bruce, for January 8th.
I'm
It
not
says-
saying, Bruce, all I'm saying is I'm giving a name to my Michael, so that he
Okay.
knows it exists. I'm not questioning that he take charge of that section, okay?
okay, thanks. Yeah, Joe's been very, very busy with NPEDC and planning and whatnot, and people there resigning and not resigning and selling their businesses and everything else. Peter, I think, wants to focus on natural and cultural resources. I'll contact him, or Lars, maybe you can help me and contact him on that issue.
Bruce, can I make a quick comment?
Peter Heffenreffer.
No, can I, yeah, I'm happy to reach out to him. Why don't, it looks like we have 3 groups, or 2 groups anyway, with Michael and myself on those 2. Why don't you and I speak offline Monday, and happy to go through the other 7 chapters, and I'll reach out to anyone that we think would be a good chairperson. How's that sound?
Okay, that takes care of
Yeah.
that agenda item.
Bruce, one update on that too. I'm on, natural and cultural resources, and you said Peter had a lot of interest. I can be very supportive, like a or just a very supportive if Peter takes it, but if not, I can.
Okay, I'll let him know, but what we're trying to find is just someone to function as a funnel for everybody's input.
Yes, I'm like covering if he's not, is he, you're here year round now, or?
You know, I
Peter?
don't.
No.
No.
I thought because we, certain people here that would have more updates on all meetings and access and everything. Nothing
Yeah,
again.
and we're flexible on this.
Okay.
So, I'll make a note and let Peter know that you are interested in working with him on honchoing that chapter.
Okay.
That's great. Does anyone have any other thing now that Lars and I are gonna work offline on this, getting the volunteers and getting the chapters more organized?
So let me say, I'm trying to take minutes here, so let me confirm what I have so far, which
Mhm.
is chapter 2, land use, Michael, chapter 3 and chapter 4, I don't have anything yet.
Okay.
Chapter 5, Peter, with Tom as a supporting role. Chapter 6, nothing. Chapter 7, nothing.
I'm chapter 4, Leslie.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
David
you.
said
That's
yes
economic
before.
development. Okay,
Right.
David Madigan. Okay, so any
Chapter
other?
8. I said I'd put I'll do chapter 8. The circulation.
8 is circulation. Okay. Great.
And I think, Tom, you were interested in having a little bit of very serious input on chapter 8, because in addition to things like paper roads, bike path, parking, sidewalks, it also, I envisioned it having, including access to Smith Point, access to Madaket with sea level rise, and access to Sheep Pond, head of the plains, things like that, but in particular Smith Point. So I figured you would be interested in at least that part of it.
Yes.
But we need one person that heads it up, and then the other people will be part of
Yeah,
the committee, so to speak.
Lars volunteered for that, so he's
Yep.
the man.
Yep.
I just
Got it.
want,
So I have a request, Lars and Bruce, after you have your offline conversation, Lars, could you email me with who you've got for each section?
Yes.
Thank you. And I will then add that to the minutes so that the next time we meet, that will have been reviewed by everybody before they show up.
Good idea. Thank you for that.
Okay,
As far as new business is concerned, it's not really new business. I haven't been able to get Holly Backus to reply to our inquiries about historic structures in Madaket, although obviously there are several that make the list. And apparently there's some kind of upheaval going on in the planning department where people are on paid leave and whatever else is going on, but we don't know who. So I'm just gonna let that fester and wait until I get back to the island in the end of May and just drop by and see if I could chat with Holly about that.
Tom said he had some new business about the bridges to, some new information he wanted to make sure we knew about, Smith Point.
Well, the only thing is, up to last year, I met the inspectors almost every year that dive, and poke into the piles and everything and do a review of the wear on the bridge and everything. And I was going to contact, and I did contact the town about that. And that was only yesterday. I haven't heard back yet. So I wanted to see if that's still going to be on a regular basis with them possibly, as I said earlier, cutting back on the timeline or whatever they're going to do to both Millie's and Madaket Bridge and Massasoit. I'm wondering if they're still going to even inspect it, which they have done. That's the state engineers. I'll check up and I'll let Bruce know about that.
Okay, my latest on that is the latest DPW director, Andrew Padnode. People just call him Drew. There was an indication in the town manager's report a couple of select board meetings ago about extending the contract of McClure Engineering to work on the bridges. And I wasn't aware of what they were actually doing. So I wrote to Andrew and he basically said he's getting ready to sign their agreement. And I tried to say, well, what's their scope of work? And he says it's very limited. We're only doing mostly cosmetic work. He wrote back to me saying they've been under the bridge, Massasoit Bridge. It's structurally sound. He felt that the Ames Avenue Bridge just needed some cosmetic work. And I urged him not to sign the extension to that contract yet until we were able to discuss with him the several iterations of meetings we've had with various engineering firms, particularly TEC Engineering, that made some very, very detailed recommendations and had several reports with conclusions that it wasn't just cosmetic work that was needed. And I asked him to hold off on signing that until we could talk about it. And he hasn't gotten back to me yet, although we did have a meeting today by Zoom to discuss other issues. The DPW removal of their offices to Shadbush. So I've got to get in touch with Drew, but this is kind of confusing at this point as to what engineering firm is doing what scope of work to either Massasoit Bridge, the 3 temporary culverts, and the Ames Avenue Bridge. And my feeling is that it's kind of not in the Madaket area plan work group scope, but it is in the MCA scope or within their responsibilities to the community. But I haven't been able to get the MCA board to focus on the issue. And I'm kind of at a loss what to do without taking, personal initiative and going to meet with Drew. So to answer your question, I don't know that the town really knows what their direction is for each of the bridges and culverts. I think that it's been dumped on DPW, because when I asked the question of Chuck Larson and the town's Michael Maynard, who's our environmental guy for strategic projects, the only response I got back was from the town's Michael Maynard, basically saying, go talk to DPW about the bridges. And when I asked about PFAS, he basically said, not my job, which I don't understand, because he's the environmental strategist. So as far as the bridges are concerned, do you want, as a work group, to reach out to Andrew about the bridges? Because it really falls under one of the or two of our chapters, and we need feedback from them. Or do you want to wait and try to deal with it through the Madaket Conservation Association? My preference is to go as the Madaket area plan to Drew and say, hey, we need this information in order to craft a detailed and coordinated chapter or two addressing these issues, so that when we take it to the planning department for it to become part of the town's long-range plan, that we're all on the same wavelength, so to speak.
Bruce, on that contract in the, our yearly town meeting, or is that just something that you had in conversation with him? Because that contract might be signed as a regular, a renewal, and we'd like to see if there are any changes in it.
Well, the way I picked it up was at when the select board puts out their package, there's also often what they call a town manager's report as part of the select board meeting, and it's generally at the end of their meetings. And part of the town manager's report is generally kind of an Excel chart about what contracts are supposed to be signed or approved during that meeting. And I saw one line item in Libby's chart about McClure Engineering having their contract extended. And it was specifically relating to the bridges, and specifically to Massasoit Bridge. So I reached out to try to find out what's happening, and I told you what I've been able to find out so far. So it's kind of like playing detective with all the documents that get posted as agendas and packets for the agendas, which you generally see about 48 hours before the meeting takes place. So
Just a quick comment.
excuse me?
Just a quick comment, if I may.
Yeah.
It clearly is a really important issue. Yeah, I don't think our mandate is to go in and discuss contracts, even though it's probably the right thing for someone to do. I think our job is to assemble information, and make recommendations of what we think needs to happen going forward. So that's a tough one. So but I don't know if we, as this work group, are the right people, given what we're supposed to be doing anyway, to go in and discuss contracts. Just my 2 cents.
Lars, just a comment, extension of that thought. I mean, it seems to me that both bridges, as well as the ultimate change from culverts back to bridges on Madaket Road, where it crosses Long Pond, all drop into 8. They drop into circulation because it's tying to coastal flooding. It's tying to, health and safety, ability to get places, and putting contracts aside, because those are pretty short term. I think it would make sense within that work group, within that subcommittee, to open lines of communication with DPW to say, look, we've been tasked with looking at the next 10 years for Madaket, and these are existential issues to Madaket, And, you know, we really need to have some communication with you folks to talk about. Forget, you know, contracts this month for inspections, but we're being asked by the town to look out 10 years, and we are concerned about these. They all fall right out of the coastal flooding plan that was done. And, you know, it identifies them as risks and things that they're going to need to be done. So we really would like to establish some lines of communication with you folks to see what your thinking is. We've been asked to think out 10 years, and we hope that you are too, but what are you thinking? I think that's a very legitimate, you know, way to have that conversation.
Perhaps I didn't say it as well as you did. That's what I was trying to suggest. I don't think we could get into who they're hiring and contracts, but I think we need to chat and learn what their thoughts are and tell them what we're thinking. Yes, I agree with it.
Well, we have a new head there, and hopefully they're a little more communicative or willing to be more communicative than NP and EDC, but we'll see.
My conversation briefly with Drew, and I guess I could share that email with you folks, was not so much getting into the contract as it was to say, we don't know what the scope of the work you're about to sign is, and we want to make sure that we're picking up where we left off with the last two DPW directors and contracts with several other engineering firms. And when I mentioned when Drew said he went under the Massasoit Bridge and everything looked structured fine, that was his response to the scope of work of this new contract. And my concern is, once you sign a contract with an engineering firm with a specific scope of work, if that specific scope of work differs from what we've already reviewed, and as a committee, as a group, have kind of signed off on, I don't know if you remember, but Tom and who else was it? Andrews and myself and one or two other people met with the DPW and tech engineering at that bridge. And the result was a scope of work for Massasoit Bridge and Ames Avenue Bridge. Now, my concern is, what happened to that scope of work? We paid thousands of dollars to those engineering firms. We've never been able to see preliminary plans or whatever it is. But the point is, the town is moving forward in a manner, I think, that may not benefit Madaket. And I think it's a good idea to kind of just, and I'll leave it to Michael and Lars to come up with a better way to put this, but to let them know, at least let the new DPW guy know, that we're very interested in what's going on and we'd like to sit down and talk with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Quick question, it's tangential but related. At the MCA board discussion, we talked about speakers for the annual meeting, and we talked about the police chief and the DPW. I saw an email today where the police chief has accepted the invitation to come to the annual meeting. What if any communication was opened up with the DPW, or was he not invited?
The DPW director was invited to be the main speaker at our annual meeting, and he has accepted that invitation.
He has. Okay, good, excellent.
We thought it would be nice to, or good for both them and us to invite the new police chief out to Madaket, so she has a better concept, because she's, you know, just starting, and that would know, I think we'd have a direct contact, you know, with the police department through Madaket.
I absolutely agree with that, and I thought that was a good idea. My only concern was I hadn't seen anything about the DPW, and I was hoping that you know, we're going to have a lot more interaction with them in the not too distant future. So I was hoping the perfect way to get off on the right foot with a new director too, for him to meet the crowd and hear about the issues, but also to have our attendees at the meeting hear about the stuff and ask questions, get them more aware of some of these things.
Yes, Mike. Unfortunately, to my perspective, the invitation to the police chief was simply for her to show up with her and her husband and just to be there.
Right.
Like, not even a real meet or greet or stand up, give us a 5-minute introduction and nothing. She just invited to come to the meeting and sit there.
Mhm.
I think she ought to be given a shot at, standing up and introducing herself and.
I imagine that'll happen. I mean,
I
that
think
could,
we can, Bruce, you're correct, but I think we can work that into the meeting where we recognize
Yeah.
her, and that sort of thing.
I think if I were attending, you're not involved in setting up, I would expect that there'd be at least a 5-minute meet and greet or something, they're there.
Well, perhaps at the next MCA meeting, which is at the beginning of May, that can be a subject, and perhaps we should broach that with Mr. Greeter. I
Great,
don't
thank
know.
you.
And just to put a pin in the bridge work, that will be a big topic with certainly circulation, transportation.
Mhm.
I don't remember the engineering reports, but that can be a big part of what we're doing. And then we'll figure out a way to work that directly in with the right channels. I think that's correct.
I was thinking of sending a copy of the tech engineering report, which is hundreds of pages, but there is a summary report that's about 50. I was just thinking of sending that to DPW because I'm not too sure what files he has and whether he's aware that there were these other engineering agreements where a lot of work was done, a lot of engineering work. Particularly the recommendation to raise the bed of Massasoit Bridge 2.5 feet, and the same thing with the Ames Avenue Bridge, because of the concern for sea level rise, starting in 2030, periodic and tidal, and the whole impetus for moving the DPW compound is sea level rise and accessibility. So either they've got a concern, but that concern folds down to the Madaket community's ability to still have access to town and other areas on the island. So anyway, it's a delicate subject, but I wanted to make sure that we kind of have a direction. And I think the chapter references in the Madaket area plan gives us some footing to approach the subject.
Correct.
Does anybody have anything else they would like to discuss? Any new business? Any old business, anything?
Only let's make sure we connect Monday, Bruce.
Yes, please. I will reach out to you. Our next meeting is the 14th of May, is that correct? I think that's right. 3 and 7. Let me go over my calendar and look, excuse me.
The 10th of May is what I have.
That's right, May 10th. So we'll put
Yeah.
that in the minutes that are next.
Friday,
meeting
May 10th.
May 10th.
5:10 at 4 p.m. Right?
Eastern.
Yes.
Eastern time. And I will be back on the island the last week, the end of the last week in May. So you're forewarned.
So that would be May 31st.
Approximately, yeah, I have. Dana Farber is playing politics now, and they've changed.
Big
a lot.
time,
Huh?
big time.
Yeah, and so they're playing havoc with the chemotherapy protocols that a bunch of us have, and it's creating a lot of problems. But anyway, I've got a meeting with them that Friday, and then I hope to make a mad dash to the boat.
Well, Bruce, we'll have a greeting committee at the dock waiting for you.
Okay, just remember, Maker's Mark is accepted.
There we go. We'll have to get a waiver on the open container law for the greeting, but
So, or either that or get me a straw. But I thank you all for bearing with my confused state as they wean me off these drugs. It's been a bitch, but I appreciate your diligence, and it's a slow process, this area plan, and I'm not getting much input other than from a handful of folks, which I appreciate very much. Michael, did you get most of the documents that you asked?
yes, I got them all. Thank you.
Okay,
My files collapsed under all the weight, but we're good.
you're the one that highlighted the names of the.
No, I thank you. But you know, you're the Library of Congress as far as these things go. It's amazing what you
Wow.
have.
We just collected stuff over the years, and I thought it would be helpful as you craft your chapters. So I guess we need an official motion to adjourn so Nikki can turn things off.
So moved.
Anybody opposed to adjournment?
Nope.
Thank you very much. Nikki, thank you for your patience, and I hope you have a good weekend. If you're still there.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Thank
night.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.